7th, July 7th will be the final deadline it had given to the remainders in the JCPOA to uphold their commitments. Give us your thoughts on what's to come, on the comments made by the Iranian president, and also what kind of a response do you expect to see from the Europeans?
Well, look, in the background of all of this, Israel has at least 100 undeclared nuclear weapons. They're behaving, the government there, like maniacs, like the Saudis, the allies of the West. The allies of Israel are the allies of NATO and the Western countries and the United States. But look, the JCPOA is a very important agreement. It really was utterly reckless for Trump to pull out of it, and we're seeing why now. The countries still in the deal are the UK, France, Germany, China and Russia, but the European countries are not putting anywhere near enough pressure on their companies. And this is where this is really affecting the sanctions, is that the US is been bullying countries, the companies that are trading from Europe to Iran. And this is why Iran is getting annoyed about this, is because the EU, which of course is in this sort of state of paralysis at the moment, with the new regime not even really being fully formed yet, are not putting anywhere near enough pressure to make sure that there are no sanctions from these European countries. So effectively, the EU has pulled out of the deal because, or is in the process of pulling out of it, because they're not making sure that the sanctions are not taking effect in Europe. Look, Scott Ritter, he is the US Marine Corps intelligence officer who was in charge of the weapons of mass destruction inspection in Iraq back in 2002, 2003, has said that the Iranians are not violating this deal because they're actually doing exactly what they have said. Because actually, amazingly, in The Guardian yesterday, we had a headline in the London Guardian: Iran breaks the nuclear deal. Well, of course, this is just propaganda. It's the United States which has broken this deal.
Mr. Gosling, it seems that ever since the United States pulled out of the JCPOA, the Europeans have also not been wholeheartedly in the agreement as well. Do you see it in that light as well?
Yes, I think really what we're seeing now is that the EU is a sort of good cop to the American bad cop, but actually they're basically working together. So they say all the right things, but they're not actually stopping, from Brussels, they're not stopping the US from imposing these sanctions on European countries. So the European companies are afraid to trade with Iran, knowing that they will then get US sanctions on them. But look, one of the things that's being spun massively in the Western press is this whole business of enrichment. We know that the 3 2/3% enrichment is what is needed for the nuclear program, for nuclear power. What we're not being told over here is that there needs to be much more enrichment of that uranium, up to 90%, to make it weapons grade. I mean, this is a massive, massive leap, and this is not being explained anywhere in the West. They're just saying, oh, the Iranians want to enrich more. Well, have to be a lot more in order to get any kind of weapons grade uranium to make a weapon with. You know, at the back of all of this, though, I mean, let's not get too bogged down in the detail, because the back of all of this, I think, though, is the determination of NATO and Israel to have a regime change in Iran. In fact, I think this may be one of the reasons why we've seen this rapprochement between North Korea, Kim Jong-un and Trump, is so that they can focus on actually getting a war going with Iran. And people may say that's impossible, no one would want a war, but actually this is a program the Israelis and NATO have been pursuing for many years. And of course, there are people also who say, well, no one wants this. Well, actually, the big arms companies, they love war. They make massive profits from war, and we should never forget that.